What if I told you the reason your dog acts the way they do may have started long before they ever came home with you? Before the leash, before the choice, before they learned your voice, your smell, your routines. Because your dog is not just a random mix of habits. Your dog carries a history, a purpose, a pattern that was shaped over generations. And once you understand that, so many things that used to confuse you suddenly start making sense. Why one dog wants to run for hours, while another is happiest curled up beside you on the couch. Why one dog barks at every little sound, while another barely reacts at all. Why one dog wants to greet every stranger in the world, and another studies people first before deciding how to feel. It is not luck. It is not your imagination. And it is not that one dog is good while another is difficult. A lot of it comes from breed. And when you really understand that, you stop asking, "What is wrong with my dog?" You start asking something much better. "What was my dog born to do?" That question changes everything. Because the moment you stop fighting your dog's nature, you start building a better life for both of you. Let's start with working dogs. These are the dogs that were made for serious jobs. They were not bred just to look strong or impressive. They were bred to do something important. Think about dogs like the German Shepherd, the Siberian Husky, the Rottweiler, the Doberman, the Boxer. These dogs were built to help humans in demanding ways. Protecting, pulling, guarding, staying alert, taking responsibility. So when people bring one of these dogs home and expect them to just relax all day with nothing to do, problems usually start. Take the German Shepherd. This dog notices everything. The front door opens. A stranger walks by the window. A sound comes from outside. Your shepherd hears it, sees it, feels it. That is not your dog being dramatic. That is your dog being exactly what it was bred to be. A watcher, a guardian, a dog that takes the world seriously. That is why German Shepherds often seem like they are always on duty. Even when they are lying on the floor, resting, part of their brain still feels awake. They want to know what is happening. They want to understand the environment. They want to feel in control. Now think about what happens if a dog like that gets no direction, no clear routine, no training, no outlet. That same alert mind can turn into barking, pacing, reactivity, or stress. But when that dog is given structure, calm leadership, and things to do, something amazing happens. They settle. They focus. They become one of the most loyal and dependable dogs you could ever have. Now let's talk about Huskies. If German Shepherds are the serious workers, Huskies are the restless adventurers. These dogs were bred to move. Not for 10 minutes. Not for one lap around the block. They were bred to go far. To pull. To endure. To keep moving through cold, hard conditions. So when someone gets a Husky because they love the blue eyes and the wolf-like look, but they do not understand the energy inside the body, reality can hit fast. Suddenly the dog is howling, chewing, digging, escaping, jumping over fences like it is a game. And the owner says, "Why is my dog like this?" Because your dog was born to go. That energy does not disappear just because your address changed. A Husky without enough physical and mental activity is like a storm with nowhere to go. And when that happens, the dog finds a way to release it. Maybe through noise. Maybe through destruction. maybe through endless movement, but never because they want to make your life harder. Only because their body and brain are still asking for the kind of life they were designed for. Then you have dogs like Rottweilers and Dobermans. Strong dogs. Confident dogs. Dogs that often get misunderstood. A lot of people see these breeds and only notice power. But underneath that power is often deep loyalty. These dogs bond hard with their family. They want to know who belongs. They want to know who is in charge. They want to feel that the home is stable and safe. That is why these breeds usually do best when life feels clear. Clear rules. Clear expectations. Clear leadership. Not harshness. Not fear. Just clarity. When they do not get that, they can become pushy, reactive, or overly protective. But when they do get it, they often become calm, steady, and incredibly loving with the people they trust. Now let's move to herding dogs. If working dogs are powerful and serious, herding dogs are often fast, intense, and unbelievably smart. Think Border Collies, Australian Shepherds, Corgis, Shetland Sheepdogs. These dogs were bred to control movement. That means they were made to watch things that move, respond quickly, and guide them in the right direction. So when a herding dog comes into a home, that instinct does not vanish. It just shows up in new ways. Maybe your dog watches the kids in the backyard and starts circling them. Maybe they rush after bicycles. Maybe they chase joggers. Maybe they nip at heels. Maybe they get obsessed with movement in a way that seems almost too intense. That is not your dog trying to misbehave. That is your dog's instinct saying, "Something is moving. I need to manage it." And this is where a lot of owners get caught off guard. They think, "My dog is so smart. That means things should be easy." But smart dogs are not always easy dogs. Sometimes they are harder, because intelligence comes with needs. A Border Collie does not just need a walk. A Border Collie needs a reason to use that brain. Training games, learning patterns, figuring things out, having tasks, being challenged. If that mind gets bored, the dog often starts inventing its own job. And the job might be barking at the window for 2 hours, or chasing shadows, or hurting the children, or obsessing over every moving thing in the house. That is why life with a herding dog often becomes so much better when owners stop thinking only in terms of exercise and start thinking in terms of purpose. Even 10 minutes of focused training can do more for some of these dogs than a long, mindless walk. That is how strong the mental need can be. Now think about corgis. People see the short legs and the cute face and assume they are just funny little companion dogs. But corgis are herding dogs too. That means behind that adorable look is a dog with opinions, confidence, and a surprising amount of drive. That is why some corgis act like tiny managers of the house. They want to be involved. They want to control traffic. They want to comment on everything. They are cute, yes, but they are not passive. And once you understand that, their behavior stops being confusing. Now let's talk about sporting dogs. These are the dogs many families picture when they imagine the perfect dog. Golden Retrievers, Labrador Retrievers, Cocker Spaniels, English Springer Spaniels. Friendly, open, social, happy to be around people. And there is a reason for that. These dogs were bred to work with humans, not away from them. They had to listen, cooperate, and stay close. They had to retrieve without damaging what they picked up. They had to stay useful but gentle. And that history still shows up today. That is why many sporting dogs love being included in family life. They want to go where you go. They want to help. They want to be near the action. A Labrador, for example, often seems like it wants to join every part of your day. Cooking in the kitchen? They are there. Walking to the door? They are there. Sitting on the couch? They are nearby. It is not always clinginess. A lot of the time, it is simply their nature to be part of the team. But here is where people get fooled. Because these breeds are so friendly, people often assume they are low effort. They are not. Many of them have big physical energy and strong social needs. A bored lab can turn into a vacuum that eats socks, shoes, pillows, toys, and anything else it finds interesting. A bored Golden can become mouthy, jumpy, or constantly needy. Not because they are bad dogs, but because a good-hearted dog with unmet needs still struggles. That is something people forget. A loving dog can still be destructive. A sweet dog can still be overwhelming. A friendly dog can still develop problem behaviors when life is not meeting what they were bred for. That is why these dogs usually do so well when they get regular activity, games with people, and chances to use both body and mind. Fetch is not just play to them. Swimming is not just fun. Carrying something in their mouth is not random. These things connect back to what they were built for. And when dogs get to express those natural traits in healthy ways, they often become so much easier to live with. Now let's talk about terriers. Terriers are small in body sometimes, but huge in attitude. Jack Russell Terrier, West Highland White Terrier, Scottish Terrier, Bull Terrier, Cairn Terrier. These dogs were bred to hunt small animals, often animals that hid underground or moved fast and unpredictably. So terriers had to be brave, persistent, quick, sharp, and a little intense. That intensity is still there. That is why some terriers seem like they live with the volume turned up. They notice things fast. They react fast. They chase fast. And once they decide something matters, it can be very hard to distract them. A squirrel in the yard is not a small event to a terrier. It is a mission. A hole in the ground is not just dirt. It is an invitation. A strange sound behind the fence is not background noise. It is a case to investigate immediately. People often call terriers stubborn. And yes, they can be independent. But a lot of what people call stubborn is really drive. These dogs were bred to keep going, even when something was difficult. They were not meant to give up easily. So if you ask for something and the dog seems to say, "I heard you, but I have other plans," that is not always defiance in the way people imagine. Sometimes it is just a dog with a strong sense of purpose. Terriers do best when life feels active, fair, and consistent. They need owners who respect their fire without letting the fire run the whole household. They need rules, but they also need outlets. They need direction, but they also need engagement. And when they get that balance, they can be some of the funniest, boldest, most entertaining little dogs on earth. Now let's move to toy breeds. Chihuahuas, Pomeranians, Maltese, Yorkies, Shih Tzus. These dogs are small, but their emotions can be huge. A lot of them were bred mainly for companionship. That means their big job was to be close to humans, to provide comfort, to stay near, to be deeply bonded. That is why many of these breeds can seem so attached to their person, following you from room to room, wanting lap time, watching where you go, getting upset when you leave, and sometimes becoming surprisingly protective of the person they love most. People laugh when a tiny dog acts like a bodyguard. But from the dog's point of view, it makes sense. Size does not change feeling. A small dog can feel devotion just as strongly as a big one. A small dog can feel fear just as deeply. A small dog can become anxious, possessive, or reactive if that close bond becomes unbalanced. And here is something important that many owners need to hear. Small dogs still need training. Not because they are bad. Not because they are less lovable. But because being small should not mean living without guidance. When people excuse every behavior because the dog is tiny, they often create bigger emotional problems. The dog never learns confidence. The dog never learns boundaries. The dog never learns how to handle the world calmly. So what looks cute in the beginning can grow into anxiety, barking, or possessive behavior later. But when small dogs get the same respect, structure, and patience that people often give large dogs, they can become wonderful companions. Now let's talk about hounds. This group is fascinating because hounds are often led by senses and instinct in a very deep way. Think beagles, dachshunds, basset hounds, greyhounds. Some were bred to follow scent. Some were bred to chase by sight. But either way, many of them have a strong internal pull toward what they notice. Take a beagle. If a scent catches that dog's attention, it can feel like the rest of the world fades away. You may call their name 10 times and get nothing. That is not because they do not love you. It is because their nose just found something that feels more powerful in that moment. That is how strong the instinct can be. Dachshunds are another great example. People often see their long bodies and small legs and think they are just cute little house dogs. But dachshunds were bred to go after animals in tight spaces. That takes courage. That takes determination. That takes a dog that does not back down easily. So yes, a dachshund can be loving and cuddly. But they can also be bold, vocal, and surprisingly intense for their size. Then you have greyhounds. People often assume a fast dog must need constant non-stop activity. But many greyhounds are actually calm at home. They love comfort. They often enjoy short bursts of running, then long periods of rest. That surprises people. And it is a good reminder that breed characteristics are patterns, not cartoon versions of a dog. Now let's talk about guarding and protection instincts in a bigger way. Because this is where many owners get confused. Some breeds are more naturally suspicious of strangers. That does not make them mean. It does not make them broken. It often means they were bred to notice who belongs and who does not. That can be a gift when it is balanced. But if owners do not understand it, they may either punish the dog for every sign of caution or encourage the dog to become overly reactive. Neither helps. A dog with natural guarding instincts usually needs calm exposure, guidance, and trust in the owner's leadership. They need to learn. I do not have to solve every situation myself. My person will handle it. That lesson matters so much. Because many behavior problems get bigger when the dog feels like the whole burden is on them. Now let's talk about companion behavior. Some breeds are naturally more people-focused than others. That does not mean independent breeds love you less. It just means they show it differently. A Labrador may love you by wanting to be near you constantly. A more independent breed may love you by checking in, then going off to do its own thing. Some owners take independence personally. They think, "Why does my dog not follow me around like other dogs do?" But independence is not rejection. Sometimes it is just breed nature. And in the same way, extreme clinginess is not always proof of love alone. Sometimes it reflects a breed that was shaped to stay very close to humans. Understanding that can help owners stop comparing dogs unfairly. Not every dog is supposed to love the same way. Not every dog is supposed to respond to the world the same way. And that is okay. Now here is something very important. Breed matters, but it is not everything. Because every dog is also an individual. Life matters too. Experience matters too. A shy Labrador can exist. A social guarding breed can exist. A lazy border collie can exist. A quiet terrier can exist. Dogs are not robots. Breed gives you a strong clue. It does not give you the full story. That is why the best way to understand any dog is to combine both things. Look at the breed. Then look at the individual in front of you. What comes naturally to this dog? What stresses this dog? What excites this dog? What helps this dog feel calm? Those answers matter. And when you pay attention to them, your relationship changes. Because now you are no longer expecting your dog to be some perfect generic dog from the internet. You are learning your dog. Your real dog. The one in your home. The one looking at you every day. Now imagine how different dog ownership feels when you make that shift. Instead of saying, "My dog is too much," you say, "My dog needs more of the right things." Instead of saying, "My dog is stubborn," you say, "My dog was bred to be determined." Instead of saying, "My dog is needy," you say, "My dog was shaped to bond closely with humans." That does not mean you excuse everything. It means you understand first. And understanding changes the way you respond. When you understand first, training becomes more fair. Expectations become more realistic. Frustration becomes smaller. Connection becomes stronger. And that is the part people do not talk about enough. Learning about breed is not just about facts. It is about compassion. It is about looking at your dog and realizing they are not trying to annoy you. They are not waking up each morning planning to test your patience. They are just being what generations shaped them to be. A dog that needs a job. A dog that needs closeness. A dog that needs movement. A dog that needs purpose. A dog that needs calm guidance. And when those needs are met, so many dogs become easier, softer, and happier. That is why one of the most loving things you can do as an owner is stop trying to make your dog act like a different breed. Stop expecting your husky to behave like a bulldog. Stop expecting your beagle to ignore every scent like a robot. Stop expecting your terrier to be passive all day. Stop expecting your herding dog to be satisfied with nothing but a slow walk. Meet the dog you actually have. Not the dog you imagined. Not the dog someone else has. Not the dog social media told you to want. Your dog. Because that is where the real bond begins. When your dog feels understood, they often become more secure. When they become more secure, they listen better. They relax more. They trust more. And suddenly the home feels different. Less like a battle. More like a partnership. So if your dog has been frustrating you lately, pause for a second. Ask yourself what part of their behavior might connect back to instinct. Ask yourself what need may be hiding underneath the problem. Ask yourself whether your dog is being difficult, or simply being exactly who they were born to be. That question can open a new door. And once that door opens, love gets smarter, training gets kinder, and life together starts to feel better. So tonight, when you look at your dog, do not just see a pet. See a story. See history. See generations of purpose living quietly inside the body. See the reason behind the barking, the digging, the watching, the running, the cuddling, the chasing, the guarding, the following. And then ask the question that matters most. What does my dog need from me, so they can be fully themselves in the healthiest way? That is where understanding begins. That is where trust grows. And that is where great dog ownership really starts. If this helped you see your dog in a whole new way, hit that like button. And tell me in the comments what breed your dog is, or what mix you think they might be, and one behavior they do every single day that suddenly makes more sense now. I read the comments, and honestly, those little stories about your dogs are always the best part. And if you want more simple videos that help you understand how dogs think, feel, and behave, make sure you subscribe. Because here, we do not just love dogs. We learn them. We respect them. And we understand them.